Hello, everyone. My name is Antonio Goncalves, if you live in Portugal. Antonio Goncalves, if you live in France. Antonio Goncalves, if you want to, go on the other countries in the planet who speak English. Yes, I am a Java champion. Yes, I do love backend. Why? Because I hate front-end, so it's not like we don't have a lot of choices. I've studied Java in 97, 6, 7, writing applets. They were ugly. Then I did HTML2 and HTML3 and 4. That was ugly. And then I did JSF because I'm a Java EE guy, and everything was ugly. So then I thought, let's stick to the back end. I usually do this talk with a friend of mine. He's a Microsoft guy, actually. I will talk a little bit about Microsoft later on. He's what we call a full stack dev, so he's not back end, neither front end either. He's trying to do his best, like every one of us. So we usually do this talk because I'm the back-end guy and he's the front-end guy. So he's not here, but I have to acknowledge that we usually do that in pairs. Because I'm going to talk to you about Java and Angular. And as I say, I have 20 years of experience of Java, but I only have 20 weeks of experience of Angular. So I'll talk about Angular, but please do not ask any questions about Angular. First of all, thank you. I've been giving a lot of talks throughout the planet in different countries, different languages and whatever. Yesterday I had the pleasure to do that, and we can feel we are in a very special place, and thank you. I feel, I'm here to talk about Angular and JavaScript, and it's like meaningless compared to those things. So thank you for having me here. So I'm going to talk about a true story, but because true stories can't be told because of customers, projects, code, etc., etc. I'm actually going to lie a little bit, but this is based on a true story. Backend, Java, microservices kind of thing. Angular, front end, distributed teams, that was the project I was working for. So to do this talk, we had to cheat, Sébastien and I. So we just took the Devoxx application, actually, where you can see the talks of a conference, where you can see the speakers, where you can vote for a talk. So instead of taking the business code of my customer, we just lied a little bit. But I wanted to show you things. This is quite a complex architecture because, yes, I'll be showing you different services completely isolated one from another. Each one has its own DB, its own business model, and so on. And yeah, we do have a front end and a proxy in the middle, and of course, registries, etc., etc. So this is the app I'm going to show you, but it's based on a true story. Let's call it the conference app, and I'll put the GitHub link at the end, so you can go and have a look. But everything is on GitHub. So this is the front end, so you can see that full stack developer does not mean UI designer. He's just a guy that appears to make Angular, and we still don't have the guy who makes that look nice. But typical application, so you have people attending, and because there's plenty, you have next, you have previous, things like that. Conference has several rooms, so here are the rooms. You click on that, you have the details. Then you have the session, so you can look into it. And there's a speaker, one or several speakers, so you can click into that and see the bio of the speaker. And this one, you can also vote. So you need to vote, but you need to log in and then vote. So this is the demo application that I'm going to show you. It could be a monolith, simple, but we've explicitly split that in several services. So we have one service give you all the information about the speaker, another one give you information about the room, etc., etc. So we try to complexify that. Okay, so this is the base. Now I'm going to slowly build that and show you some bits and pieces. I won't be showing everything, but. Oh, sorry, I didn't ask. Who does Java here? Okay. Angular? Both? Okay, interesting. Because I will explain you why then. I am known as problem. I am known as a Java EE guy. But today I won't be talking about Java EE. I'm more talking about this new thing called a micro profile. And as you can see, there's no Java EE in the title. It's called Enterprise Java Micro Profile. I'll explain you why. Why did we come with this idea? It's because we all know that our industry changes a lot. And lately, there's two important things that have happened. The cloud, I'm not going to talk about it, and microservices. I won't be talking about it either. I'm not here to explain you what is a microservice, because, like all of you, I do not know. But the idea was, okay, we have to, more and more people have to put things in the cloud. Yes, it's true that we try to split things into smaller pieces, and then I will show you at the end, when you do that, it's intellectually very, appealing to be able to work on little things. But then you have an entire infrastructure, really complex to manage. So we thought, well, let's talk about this infrastructure. Why not? Java EE has been around for many, many times. It does solve a few problems, but not all of them. Now, let's think about the cloud. Let's think about microservices. What could we do outside Java EE, but still not too far? So we had this idea of a micro profile. It just started around beers, actually. It started at Devoxx UK last year, so it's not even a year old. We were in London having beers and talking, saying, yeah, Java EE is 20 years old, nearly. There've always been some microservices things. If you think of the first idea of an EJB, of JNDI, where you can register a bean and another one with RMI, not HTTP, but RMI, and you could talk. The genesis of Java EE is distribution. So there are bits and pieces there. But there's still something missing. That's why throughout the years, Java EE kept on evolving, but we saw different efforts. For people who know JBoss and WildFly, there's this thing called WildFly Swarm, which I'll be using, as a demo. So I will show you, but it's of course comes from Java EE, but with a different mindset. So we already had JBoss doing things outside Java EE. Liberty, IBM, Payara, Tommy, all these guys coming from Java EE, but doing different things. So we already had a start. Java EE is already used in microservices, but we can do better. That's the entire idea of this micro profile thing. So as I said, it started in June in London, around a few beers. And believe it or not, microprofile 1.0 got out in September. The idea was, let's focus on the minimum thing, JSRs, because we're doing REST, CDI, because it's the basis, we need a basement, and JSON-P for the JSON processing. Then, in December, we put that in the Eclipse Foundation. No, we didn't go to the JCP. We are working actively on the 1.1. It will become soon. And we are aiming at 1.2 before the end of the year, actually. So just to show you that we are trying to go faster than the Java EE and the JCP history. So, as I said, 1.0, very basic, basically JSRs, CDI, and JSON-P. But hey, trying to do microservices, there's a lot of things to be done still. So, on 1.1, we will add configuration, security based on JSON Web Token. I'm going to talk about that. Else check. Even for those of you who were here at Adambien talk, there have always been some health check in Java EE, but now we're trying to push that further. Fault tolerance. All that should come soon. And then a 1.2 we will see service discovery, circuit breaker, all these patterns related to microservices. Okay, so enough talk. I'm gonna show you actually what's happening in this 1.0, even if it's we are far from having all the pieces. I'm going to use this thing called WildFly Swarm. It comes from JBoss. So the people who have been using JBoss for years, that's similar. The base code is the same. If you look at the logs, they have the same format. So you quite feel comfortable when you come from the JBoss world. So the idea of WildFly Swarm, yes, it is based on the good old JBoss. And the idea is Java EE is this thing where, by design, an application server must implement everything. Today, Java EE 7 is 32 specifications. So what we are saying is you must implement the 32 specs. If you implement only 31, bad luck, you're not compliant. Unfortunately, there's still Corba in Java EE. So, you must implement Corba to be compliant. So this idea of, hey guys, I do not need everything. So in Java EE 6, we had this idea of web profile shrinking. The web profile is 14 specifications. So good, instead of 32, you go to 14. But still, the idea of WildFly Swarm and Payara and Tommy, it's, put whatever you need, only what you need. So Swarm comes with this idea of a fraction. I'm going to stay in the Java EE space, so you can think of a fraction equals to a specification. I need JPA and CDI. That's 2 fractions. And actually, the micro profile, as I said, it's JSRs, CDI, and JSON-P, 3 fractions. So in the Java EE, 1 spec, 1 fraction, that's quite easy, but there's other things. Josh talked a lot this morning about ribbon, historics, a lot of things coming from Netflix. Spring, Spring is a fraction on WildFly Swarm, Logstash, Swagger, a lot of things. So I'm going to build my microservices saying, I just need a couple of fractions. I do not need the entire thing. How does it work? Will WildFly Swarm, at the moment, because this is not specified yet, every implementation does his thing. Payara does it differently, Tommy. So I'm going to talk about the specificity of WildFly Swarm. So what I'm going to show you now is a simple REST service packaged in a WAR file. Easy, You take the WAR file, you deploy it on the JBoss. That's what we've been doing for years. Works. Now I'm going to right-size my service, so I'm going to take it the other way around. I do not need the entire JBoss. So I'm going to use a profile. I'm still going to build a WAR, but I'm going to use this profile, the Maven profile swarm, to say, I need the micro-profile fraction, JSRs, CDI, and JSON-P, and please do a bit of magic for me. The magic is leave Maven to build a WAR file, and take the WAR file and put it inside a jar. And I'm going to execute this jar. So let's have a look at a demo. I'm going to start with something small, and then I will show you the bigger picture. So something small is, this is the endpoint that gives you the list of the rooms of the conference. So it's JSRs, the path is /rooms. And if I have a look at it, it injects, so I have CDI, a repository, which at the moment is just a map. I do not even use JPA. And this room endpoint, I can create a room, so I have a post, a few gets, I can get the entire list of rooms or only one, passing an ID, very common REST thing. So if you look at the POM XML, the packaging is WAR. So if I take, hope everybody can see, if I do Maven clean package, what's going to happen? Well, Maven is going to build a WAR. So if I look targets, here is my 27Ks WAR file. But as I said, I'm going to use this magic, the swarm profile, saying please bundle only the 3 fractions that I need. Here I could have added one extra, JPA or ribbon histories. And please use a bit of magic, use the swarm plugin, and I'm telling you that I'm listening on port 9191. So here, what I have to do now is clean package, and I'm using the swarm profile. What's going to happen? Maven is going to build the WAR file, as usual. And look, the WildFly swarm plugin is going to take slightly longer, because it's taking the fractions that I asked for, JSRs, but for JSRs you need a HTTP server, so it's going to bundle undertow. So now if I look on the target, I still have my WAR file, but what's going to be interested, it's this jar file, 92 megs. What's inside? Undertow, CDI, REST, JSRs, sorry, JSON-P, and my WAR file. So it's the other way around. If I unzip this file, you can see a WAR inside a jar, and not the other way around. Java jar, here we go. So I'm just, executing a jar file. And for people who know JBoss, hey, that's more or less the same logs. So you can even administer that. And just to show you that it's working, demo 1, this is my REST endpoint. Okay. As Josh this morning would have said, make jar not WAR. Okay? But I'm going to show you he's wrong later on. Okay? Do not tell Josh. He's my friend. But he is wrong, and I'll show you why. Okay, I've talked about the micro profile, the implementation that I'm using, WildFly Swarm. Now let's talk a little bit about Angular. And as I say, I have 20 weeks of experience of Angular. Like everyone, because Angular 2 was released in September. So in a nutshell, it's component-based. So for those of you like me that come from Java EE, from JSF, it's a fantastic framework. I really feel at home because everything is a component, like in JSF. But a component is code and HTML. So you have this thing called template. And of course, you need some metadata to talk, binding from the code to the HTML and events from the HTML to the code when you press a button. Because it uses TypeScript, there's even annotation. I know there's one guy here who hates annotation, but hates annotation in Java, but now they are in Angular too. They are in TypeScript. Love them. And then if you put a lot of code in your component, you might as well extract it into a service, and guess what? There's injection. It's called injectable. There were 3 letters short to call it @inject. Damn. And then the very good thing with Angular and TypeScript is you can put things into modules, like what we have now with Java 9. So you could take 3 components, put that in a module, and then tell the other team, look, here are the 3 components, and you just pass around a module. So I'm not going to talk a lot about Angular, but this is a typical component. As you can see, it's a class. On init, as you can see, what you can think is what's going to happen once the component is initialized. Post construct, if you come from Java EE, same thing. And then look at component, so we really feel at home. And you can even put attributes and constructors and methods. So this is the business code of my component. And as you can see here, there's also the template. There's the HTML part of the component. So here I'm pointing, saying the component is code plus a view. And the view is HTML. With bits and pieces, this is a for loop. Again, if you come from Java EE with JSP and JSTL and JSF, very familiar. So here I'm iterating rooms was the attributes of my component. I'm just looping through them. And of course, I want to display the name of the room. Again, we feel at home because in Java EE, we have expression language, the pound and the curly brackets, kind of the same syntax. And we have events. When you click on the button, there's this event click that it's sent back to the business code of the component and shows the room. So again, we pretty much feel at home. And when your business code is too complex, you extract it from your component and you put it into a service. What is a service? A class with attributes, methods, name them, and this injectable thing, so now you have an injectable service. And as I said, you have modules, so you can say, here I'm creating a module with my 3 components. This is component 1, 2, 3. I'm importing external components and providers. I'm exporting things, etc., etc. I think what I like the most in Angular is TypeScript. I have to be honest, I did try to go into the GS world. The language was too obscure. I didn't get the difference between equal, and equal. And it's like, oh, damn. Much easier with TypeScript. Love it. So even if I have 20 weeks of experience in Angular, I can actually read code, which, before I would go to a JS guy and say, yeah, looks right. And there's the second thing I really love about Angular, is Angular CLI. I think that's what's still missing in the Java space. Well, we should have created things like that 20 years ago. I do not know anything about Angular. I need to create an app. What should I do? They have created a command line interface, a CLI, so you can create projects from scratch, and it works, which is really good. You know, a shame we didn't have that in Java EE 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So that's good when you start an Angular project and you don't know anything about nothing. It actually works with a few commands. I'm saying works, I'm not saying it looks beautiful. Two different things. So yeah, let me show you what Angular CLI looks like. So I'm going to give you a demo. Oops. So here I have my service, microservice venue. It's running here. I'm going to leave it running on port 91, so I can show you later what I'm going to do it. Am I in the right spot? No, demo 1. Okay. So here I have the microservice venue, the one I will show you with the rooms. And sorry, I'm going to cheat a little bit because, as I said, I'm not that confident with this Angular world. Things change rapidly in this Angular web world, so I'm using the latest, greatest beta 32.3. I was doing that last week, and the code from last week to this week, there's a bug. You know, anyway, it goes really fast. Those guys go really fast. Coming from a Java EE life cycle, you know, it's a bit of a shock. So let's say ng, so that's for the ng CLI. New, and I'm going to give the project name. Here, thank God I have the web, because for people who have bitched about Maven, those guys are worse than us, you know. This is downloading the internet, and I will end up with 16 megabytes, I think, of line of code, just to show it works at the end. It just, you know, we have things to learn from them, but I think they have things to learn from us. Good. That's why I love about Angular. It's now, I have this conference web, and it's all that. You know, and if I do now, I'm not going to do it because I'll have a port conflict anyway, but I could do yarn, run, start, and bang. You know, I have a web application, simple one, but it, you know, it works. Everything is set. My package JSON, so that's our POM XML. You know, everything is done. This code works, which is really good. I'm going to leave it like that for now, just to show you that that's our RCRC main Java. So those guys put everything in RCRC app. And, you know, the idea is I'm going to create, I'm going to generate a component. My component is called venue, because the idea is to show the list of the rooms. I have a REST endpoint, and now I want a graphical component to show that. And again, with ng CLI, very easy. Oh, yeah, sorry, I need to be in the web. And if I generate a component, automatically it's going to create here a venue component with the TypeScript component and the HTML, okay? So, yeah, if I do yarn, run, start, you will see venue works. Good. So I've set up the basis. There's one team working on the Java backend, another team working in Angular, remote teams. We say we love each other. But to be honest, when I told my Java team that they had to install NPM, Node.js, Yarn, oh no, not Yarn 2.1, but just, so the Java team had, you know, difficulties in understanding the Angular team and vice versa. So we used Docker. Good. Easy. That was the killer feature, you know. At one point, we need to integrate. mocks are great, but there's one point where the Angular app has to talk to all these services. So at one point, the Java team upload the Docker images, and the Angular team will use them. Docker was perfect. You know, the Angular guys didn't have to install Java, Maven, you know, all these things. Brilliant. Worked good. And as I said, we were doing fat jars. Easy. What do you need? Java. You expose a port, and you copy your jar file. You know, what I did, java-jar, that's exactly that. And you go Java jar and your fat jar. That's what the Java team Docker images were looking. And the guys, we also asked the Angular guys to do Docker, and for them, you know, again, really easy. You need a web server, you expose a port, and you take the /dist and you put everything. Easy. But I'm still going to do one quick demo to show you that my friend Josh Long is wrong. Because fat jars were very easy, you know, to put in the cloud, 2-week change, etc., etc. But when we started to integrate with the Angular guys, of course, things never work. So we had to rebuild 50 times our images. And guess what? If you have a skinny war, you know, I've showed you that the war was, oh, I'm not in the right place. I've showed you that venue. If I do a Maven clean package, the WAR file is tiny. $27Ks. If I do a fat jar with everything in it, the jar is much bigger. We go from 27Ks to, as I showed you, 90-something megs. Why? Because there's undertow, there's everything in it. So the problem is, look at that. Here I have 2 Docker files. One is executing this jar, okay? And the other one is executing a war. For a war, you need the entire thing. You need the entire JBoss. And you just copy the war file. Look at that. If I go Maven clean package, so I have 2 profiles. One is Docker war that's going to build a Docker image with this file. So if I do that, yes, the first time it will download WildFly from the internet. That costs once. But then look, it's copying here, it's copying a 27Ks WAR file. And that's what changes. You know, we have bugs, so we have to debug them and build WAR files again and again. Some days we will beat 50 times our Docker images. 8 seconds. Now I'm going to ask Swarm to build the fat jar, and then ask Docker to build this image. And I will go from 8 seconds to much more. So make jar not war? Yeah, it depends. There's a point in time in your project, and for us it was integration, where you spend your day building Docker images. And here it's a simple example, but I'm going from 8 seconds to 20. This ratio explodes when the complexity arises. So, you know, again, we've used both. Between the Java guys, you know, it was much easier to take an executable jar and just try things around. But with Docker, when you are in this Docker world, copying a skinny war, it's way much faster than copying a fat jar. And if you look at the images, of course, the WAR file is bigger because you have the entire JBoss plus a JVM plus the operating systems. Here, I just have Java. But hey, guys, we live in the Docker world. You know, who cares about the size of the images? They're all big anyway. So just something to, you know, I love Josh, but sometimes having skinny wars are more efficient. Okay, so here we are. We have a back-end guys, Java guys, and the front-end guys. How are we going to talk? Well, through APIs, of course, because, you know, as I said, we have all these microservices. They all expose different things. How are we going to, you know, exchange? We go to the web and read and read and read about, you must expose beautiful APIs. What's beauty? For JSON APIs, it's something, and for the others, it's something else. So we spent days and weeks reading, you know, what is a beautiful API? Very difficult. And of course, you end up doing it your way with inspiration from all the others. So actually, we took inspiration from JSON API. So, oh yeah, and by the way, in 2 minutes, I'm going to tell you that beautiful APIs, we don't care anyway, and I will explain you why. So yeah, let's build beautiful APIs. So when you look at JSON API, and most of them, they tell you a resource, you know, you should have an S at the end. Okay, let's do that. Let's put S at the end. And by the way, with the S at the end, you're not going to return 1 million instances. So you're going to bring pages of 10, of 20. So you're going to say, give me the second page, give me the third page, give me the second page, sort by title, reverse order, comma, date. So you have all these things. You know, building beautiful APIs is caring about all that. And of course, sessions with an S, but if you want one session, the session ABC, then you go /ABC. And of course, it's a bit more complex because when you have a resource, there is 1 megabyte of JSON, and you want to show that on your phone, well, maybe you should reformat this output. So there's plenty of tricks. For us, we just said, I want the resource ABC, and I want to expand it or not. Here on the demo, it's for the speaker, and if I go expand true, it will bring me the bio. If I go expand false, it will not bring it. Very useful when you are on a phone, in the tube with low network. So there's all these tricks. Oh, okay, now we agreed on the tricks. Either you write a Word document to explain your tricks, or you use documentation. We use Swagger. So Swagger, the idea is how to document your API. What methods can you call? What parameters? What the status codes to expect from an API? And this contract can be written in JSON or YAML. And Swagger is so, you know, it's so famous now that it's actually becoming a standard. It was given to the Open API initiative. And there's plenty of tools around Swagger, nice editors and everything. So that's what we did. Here is a JSRs REST endpoint, you know, speaker endpoint with a post and a get. And now we're going to put documentation. So here I'm using text to say, this endpoint brings me the details of the speakers, of the conference, blah, blah, blah. And the method add, what does it do? Well, it adds a new speaker to the conference, and it can return a 400, a 404, a 304, etc., etc. Once you've put that in your code, there's actually now 2 strategies. You tell the Swagger implementation to document at runtime. So what you do is you execute your REST endpoint and you go to a specific URL and it generates automatically the contract. Very useful, but Swagger needs JSON, needs a whole bunch of things. And believe it or not, but to have this functionality, it takes more than 20 megs of dependencies. So, you know, doing microservices, 20 megs just to show, a JSON file, it's a bit of a pain. So what we did is we actually used a Maven plugin. The Swagger Maven plugin, it introspects these annotations and generates once your Swagger file. Much easier. You put it in your WAV file, you get rid of all the dependencies. You do not have runtime documentation, but we didn't need it. So with a bit of magic, each time you compile your code, it generates a new Swagger file. Very, very easy. You package that, and now you have your Angular team that can read it with different tools. And better than that, there's even a tool that takes this Swagger and generates Angular code. Very nice. And it generates, so my add method, it knows, well, it calls it add, because I told Swagger it was called add. You know, the method returns a room, so the Swagger code gen is going to generate code for my room, get, post, put, and delete. Very, very nice. So this is how it works. So again, here I have my endpoint. Okay, it's working. If I go to SwaggerJSON, it's the JSON file I've generated. So now I just take this file and I go here, again, Swagger code gen, and I think that, I can type help. So there's plenty of methods to generate code and so on and so forth. I think I'm gonna have to go, no, I'm gonna stay here. And what I'm gonna do now, so I'm gonna generate code based on my JSON file, okay? So my contract. And I'm going to tell him that the language is TypeScript Angular 2. And I'm going to tell it where to generate this code. So I'm going to put it in conference. Am I on the right? Am I? Oh, yeah, demo. I'm not on the right place, sorry. Oops, yep, to microservice. You know what, guys? I have somewhere in the README, I have this very long, oops, so sorry for the copy paste. He just pulled the Swagger JSON, and here he generated the APIs, so the venue API. So here in TypeScript, I have all the get, post, put, and delete, everything in Swagger. And I know that the JavaScript guys hate type, but we love type. And you just created a room. The room has an ID, a capacity, etc., etc. Brilliant. But still, there was things missing. This contract is fantastic. I don't have a lot of time, sorry. I'm skipping that because I wanted to show you something a bit more interesting. We have this contract, so now the guys know what to call to do a post, get, delete. But what else? We have all these microservices around. What shall I do next? What do I do to get all the talks of Monday? What do I do to get all the talks of Monday on room number 5? So we had to do this 8OS thing. So 8OS, it's called hypermedia as the engine of application state. In the maturity model, it's up there. And basically, it's a runtime contract. Swagger is good. It's your contract. But then what do you do? So a runtime contract is each time someone invokes a resource, you tell them what to do next. So at its core is the idea of hypermedia. Where do I click next? You know, what can I do? So you give links to people. And the idea is I give you a link, so now you can go somewhere else. Actually, JSRs has a link API, but we didn't use it. It was a bit too much. Well, we made things simpler, but you know, anyway, that's one thing with the micro profile. This is actually missing. I know Spring has an implementation, Spring 8OS. The micro profile has to do something because it's quite painful to do. But the idea is this is the data of a talk. There's an ID, there's a title. The team can get that because they have the Swagger contract. But then, well, then we have to give them information. This is the link to myself, so to the talk. But these are all, other links. This is the link if you want to go to page 1. This is the link if you want to go to the last page. This is the link if you want to see all the talks on Monday. And you have to give all this information each time. This self, first, last, next, and Monday, most of them, not Monday, Tuesday, because that's, for a conference, but most of them are actually standardized. If you go to this page, you have all these rails that you can use. So I'm skipping the implementation because it's just a map. But just to give you an idea, this is what it looks like. So this is the nice interface, but behind the scene, this is what we have. So if I go to sessions, this is the first batch of the sessions, 20. If I want to have the 20 next, well, just click here. So that's an information you give to the other team. They click here and they have the next. What if they want to see what's happening on Tuesday? Click on Tuesday. And what do you want Tuesday on room 6? Well, click on room 6. Tuesday might not be. And then you have a talk with Martin Gottner. So this is the link to the speaker. And here you have all the details of the speaker. Here you didn't see it, but I have several microservices. So each time I've clicked, I've been to a different machine. So I was telling you, we've spent 10 days saying APIs should be beautiful and URLs should be readable. And actually now you have a new trend is, no, we don't have to. It's much easier to understand that, next means something. The URL could be called anything, okay? I'm completely out of time. So we've used caching mostly with Etags. Etags are built in JSRs, so that's nice. Here I need to vote, and to vote I need to be authenticated. So we use JSON Web Token. The JSON Web Token support will be in microprofile 1.1. So here we did a bit of hand code, but it's going to get much easier. So here I'm explaining what a token is. Sorry, I'm completely out of time because I didn't tell you, but this talk that I do with Sébastien, it's a 3 hours long talk. So I try to shrink it as much as possible. But so the conclusion is we are working on 1.1. It will bring more features. JSON Web Token support, that's going to be nice. Health check, out of the box in a standard way because it's in Eclipse Foundation. And there's more to come, 1.2 before the end of the year. Last week I was looking at that. Microservices. this is what we need to build microservices. I found it quite interesting because one guy was commenting, oh God, yeah, load balancing, service discovery, yeah, okay. Oh, and the triangle at the top, what is the empty triangle? The guy said, business code. It's like, oh gee, that's complex, you know. So the idea of the micro profile is to take these complex things so we don't have to worry about that. We had to do a lot of things by hand, the ATOS, the JWT support, but hopefully with micro profile 1.2, 1.3, all these technical things that we have to deal with now with microservices will hopefully become easier. Please join. There's, of course, everybody is here except Oracle. Yeah, I know. But you can be there too. Go to Eclipse. There's Slack channel, mailing list, GitHub. We're really working on that, and we need your input. You know, the 1.2 should be ready by the end of the year. What do you need in 1.2? So, thank you. And, you know, come to Eclipse Foundation. Eclipse Foundation is not just about an ID, it's a foundation and it's quite welcoming. Thank you.